The human body is fallible and frail even for world-class athletes. Among those who have been lucky enough to play professional sports, a few were also unlucky enough to die in the pursuit of victory. These are the poor souls who passed away while doing what they loved. On paper, high-level auto racing sounds extremely dangerous. The sport consists almost entirely of heavy chunks of metal with people sealed inside of them careening around the track at 200 miles per hour. There are numerous safety protocols in place, though, which make deaths on the racetrack thankfully rare, but that doesn't mean they've never happened. One major casualty in the history of NASCAR was the 2001 death of Dale Earnhardt Sr. He was one of those sports stars who was so popular and successful that even people who don't follow NASCAR know his name and the tragic story behind his death. Just 3 years after finally winning his first Daytona 500 in 1998, Earnhardt again raced in the February 2001 edition of the event. Toward the end of the race, fellow racer Sterling Marlin clipped Earnhardt and sent him careening into the wall. He died immediately. A NASCAR review initially determined that a malfunctioning seatbelt caused Earnhardt to hit his head on the steering wheel, but when Duke University biomedical engineering professor Dr. Barry Myers reviewed the autopsy and other information, he attested that when Earnhardt hit the wall, his head whipped forward with such intensity that it detached muscles and killed him instantly. In the wake of Earnhardt's death, NASCAR adopted numerous new safety measures, including a neck-securing device that prevents such a deadly kind of whiplash.
Dale Earnhardt was a man of extremes. Friend, foe. Everyman, Superman. And he was a hero lost too soon.
As part of the duo with his brother Bret, the Hitman Hart, Canadian wrestler Owen Hart was among the most popular WWE stars of the 90s. He was a flashy showman who loved to incorporate characters and costumes into his act. In May 1999, he was set to appear as an obnoxious superhero for his appearance on Over the Edge, a pay-per-view event held at the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri. The plan called for Owen, also known as the Blue Blazer, to be slowly lowered into the ring from the rafters with the use of a wire system. But that's not what happened. Instead, the rigging malfunctioned and Owen plunged 80 feet into the ring. WWE announcer Jim Ross informed the silenced crowd that the fall wasn't a scripted moment or a stunt. TV viewers didn't see the fall as the broadcast had cut to an Owen Hart highlight reel before his grand entrance. Barely 34 years old, he succumbed to the injuries he sustained in the fall and was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital that night. Outside of the United States, a dominant type of motorsport is Formula One, with its lucrative Grand Prix races held on specially built tracks and on public roads. Ayrton Senna was one of the best Formula One drivers ever. While active for only 10 years, he won a whopping 41 contests, including the Monaco Grand Prix 6 times. His home nation of Brazil held him up as a hero and a national treasure. On May 1, 1994, Senna competed in a race in the Imola circuit in Italy. While dealing with a left turn corner at a high speed, his car suddenly jerked to the right. He then crashed into a wall nearly head-on. The cause of the accident was trouble with the steering column after Senna had asked his team to modify it before the race. Soon after, he died from the injuries he sustained in the crash, as debris had pierced his helmet and caused several skull fractures. The tragedy was mourned by the people of Brazil as his funeral was broadcast on live TV, and the government declared a 3-day period of mourning for the 34-year-old athlete.
He was a great driver, but also a great person.
After an uneventful freshman year at the University of Southern California, basketball phenom Hank Gathers transferred to the smaller Loyola Marymount University, where he became a legend. In his junior year, he averaged 32.7 points per game and 13.7 rebounds per game. His senior year was pretty spectacular as well, with an average of 29 points per game and 10.8 rebounds per game.
Imagine LeBron's physique with Russell Westbrook's energy and Shaq's fun-loving personality. That was Hank Gathers.
Gathers also quietly suffered from heart problems and was prescribed medication for an irregular heartbeat. That didn't stop him from playing in the 1990 West Coast Conference Tournament. After a slam dunk that put his team up 25-13 against Portland, he collapsed to the floor, and he stopped breathing. A few hours later, the 23-year-old Gathers was pronounced dead. According to an autopsy, he died of an inflamed and scarred muscle in his heart. Fran Crippen was a terrific swimmer. He was an 11-time All-American and the Atlantic Coast Conference's Swimmer of the Year while attending the University of Virginia. His career medal haul included a bronze at the 2001 Goodwill Games and 2 silvers at the 2003 Pan American Games. He then moved from pool swimming to open water swimming, in which an athlete traverses large, naturally occurring bodies of water. His success continued as he won a silver medal in the 10-kilometer open water event at the 2006 Pan Pacific Championships. A year later, he earned the gold in the 10-kilometer open swim at the Pan American Games, the first of many top finishes in major long-distance water races. Crippen was a strong contender to place in the 2010 10K series presented by FINA, which finished up in the United Arab Emirates. When Crippen didn't cross the finish line, other swimmers became worried and searched for him. A dive team then came in and discovered that he had drowned below the course. According to a FINA report, he died from a heart abnormality brought on by exercise-induced asthma. He was only 26.
He was a passionate person, and he held everyone to a very high standard, including himself.
Ray Boom Boom Mancini had one of those great boxer biographies, as he was a scrappy guy who rose through the ranks, picking up the promise of never-fulfilled family dreams. His father, Lenny Boom Boom Mancini, could have been a contender if not for an injury sustained during World War II. The younger Boom Boom did what his dad couldn't do, when in 1980 he became the lightweight champion of the world. In November 1982, he defended his title for just the second time against rising South Korean boxer Duk Koo Kim. The fight was a huge deal, with CBS nationally broadcasting it live from Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Mancini was the easy favorite, but the fight wasn't a cakewalk for either boxer, who appeared evenly matched as the bout stretched into the 14th round. That's when Mancini pummeled Kim with a devastating left hook, sending him backwards into the ropes. Kim went down for good, and officials declared Mancini the winner, but then Kim didn't get up at all. 4 days later, he died in a hospital. Mancini, obviously rattled by accidentally killing another boxer, only competed a few more times. Boxing organizations also soon limited title bouts to a maximum of 12 rounds in an attempt to decrease the potential number of blows to a combatant's head.
It was a great fight. And it would be one of the fights you'd be seeing on ESPN Classic all the time. Yeah. But because of it, there's nothing good.
Professional drag racing is a lot different than what you see in the Fast and Furious movies. It's a fully sanctioned sport in which gearheads and highly trained racers operate very expensive and powerful machines to go a very short distance, specifically a quarter mile in a very short period of time. Nitrogen-powered vehicles and the people who love them compete on the funny car circuit, in which the Kalitta family was royalty. Back in the 50s and 60s, Connie Kalitta's bounty hunter branded cars dominated the sport, and his son Scott eventually took up the family business as well. The younger Kalitta would go on to make a name for himself, winning 2 straight top fuel titles in 1994 and 1995. Scott Kalitta was someone who knew on every level how a hot rod worked, and yet he still lost his life to an unthinkable freak accident. During the Lucas Oil NHRA Supernational Racing event in Old Bridge Township, New Jersey in June 2008, Kalitta's car experienced what a police report called a catastrophic mechanical failure that led to an explosion of fuel. That sent Kalitta and his vehicle rocketing down the track to the finish line at a speed of slightly over 300 miles per hour in under a second. He perished in the fiery chaos. He was only 46. By the early 80s, Ukrainian-born Vladimir Smirnov had become one of the best ever to compete in fencing. He had few contemporary rivals, winning bronze, silver, and gold medals in 3 separate events at the 1980 Summer Olympics. He was on a roll, as he then won at the World Championships in 1981 and returned to the event the following year to defend his title. In an early round, he squared off against Matthias Baer of West Germany, a gold medal winner at the 1976 Summer Olympics. Despite being a sport in which athletes whip metal swords at each other, fencing is actually extremely safe. Competitors wear almost as much safety equipment as hockey goalies, including vests, chest protectors, special gloves, and metallic mesh face masks. Any serious fencing injury is a fluke, but a fluke happened in the 1982 match between Baer and Smirnov. When Baer went for a routine lunge at Smirnov, his sword broke. His broken stump of a blade somehow went through Smirnov's face mask and through his eye socket and into his brain. He died of his injuries about a week later. The Giro d'Italia, or Tour of Italy, is among Europe's many multi-stage, multi-day bicycle races that send elite riders on a tour across beautiful countryside. It's essentially Italy's version of the Tour de France. Belgian racer Wouter Weylandt of the Luxembourg team Leopard Trek had won stages at the similar Tour of Spain in 2008 and at the 2010 Giro d'Italia before competing in that race's 2011 edition. During the third stage, Weylandt wound down the steep, twisty roads of the descent from the Passo di Bocco. About 20 miles from the finish, he lost control and crashed. Some witnesses say he hit a wall. At any rate, he landed hard on his face and bled profusely upon impact. Emergency workers opted not to call an ambulance because he needed treatment then and there. He was discovered unconscious with a fracture at the base of his skull, and his heart had stopped. Adrenaline and atropine injections, along with other measures, were ultimately unsuccessful. Weylandt, a 5-year veteran of the racing circuit with a baby on the way, died at the age of 26. During an August 1920 game against the New York Yankees, Cleveland Indians shortstop Ray Chapman came up to bat. As Yankees pitcher Carl Mays remembered it, Chapman crouched down low over the plate and Mays threw a pitch high and fast. He heard the ball make contact and he fielded it when it bounced his way, throwing it to first base for the out, except that the ball didn't nick Chapman's bat. Instead, it had hit him in the head and he lay motionless on the ground. Chapman was transported to a New York hospital, still unconscious. Surgeons discovered a 3.5-inch fracture in his skull. They removed a small chunk of bone to access the brain, which had been lacerated so much that blood clots had developed. There was nothing they could do, and Chapman died a few hours after surgery. The pitch that Mays had used on Chapman was a spitball. Applying a substance like saliva can make the ball fly erratically. Chapman is the last Major League Baseball player to die as the result of an in-game injury, and that's thanks in part to the league's banning the spitball and introducing batting helmets.